I want to ask about what is being said, your favorite topic, cyber. You've been credited for turning Estonia into this 10 years of your presidency. And I'm wondering, with the current proliferation of cybercrime and OPM data breach in the United States and cyber attacks in Estonia, recent cyber attacks, do you still feel that digitalizing your country is still the step in the right direction?
First of all, I've been doing it for 25 years, not 10. It's just that it's become better known. Yes, I think that that digitalization, if done right, is far more secure than a paper world. But here, the underlying framework is far more secure than the kinds of crimes we have seen. Even the cyber attacks on Estonia are fairly primitive and really have nothing to do with digitization, other than that people rely on home pages or web pages. But the kinds of things such as the OPM hack or the Sony hack or the kinds of hacks, or more importantly and more dangerously, the kind of recent attack on the Ukrainian power station, all show that a simple and rather shaky model of digital communications requires a rethink. Simple passwords, which is what basically everyone has used for the past 35 years, are not enough. We here use something known as a two-factor authentication, which is far, far more secure, which it will be the way of the future, and we have it here for government services, and other countries are adopting this model. The Netherlands has it, but we have to realize that the way of doing things right now is something that was designed in the early 80s for communication between 1,000 or several thousand academics at universities, where these kinds of issues were not important, but a simple password is not enough.
In terms of, you mentioned that Europe might become a competition of all towns if it doesn't get to the stage of digitalizing on the level of Estonia. Do you feel Europe now is closer to that point, and do you think that Estonia could pioneer in giving this positive example?
Well, when I talk about Europe in this context, it's that we have to have services crossing borders, data crossing borders, and if we don't do that, then we will lose our brains, because innovative products won't work at a small national level. I think we are moving in that direction, especially because the man in charge of it is the former Prime Minister of Estonia, who is obviously quite familiar with digital processes. So I think that we will be moving in that direction in Europe. Certainly the current legislation, or the legislation being currently prepared, moves Europe in this direction. To understand the problem, I mean, is if you were in the United States, that every U.S. state basically said, okay, if you want to go across borders, you need permission and so forth from your state's data protection agency. Clearly, the U.S. economy would not function then, and this is the problem we face in Europe today: is that we don't have a single digital market in Europe the way you do, say, in the United States or in other large countries. That's the big issue we have to get over. Less security. This is more economics than security itself. The security side is going to be a tougher nut to crack, I would say, because of different approaches by different countries in Europe.
From cyber realm to real threats and security, according to the latest trend report, they did some exercises, hypotheticals, and they mentioned that it might take Russian troops 60 hours to end up in Riga or Tallinn. And I would like to ask about your assessment of this statement in the first place and about the reality of the threats from Russia in your eyes, not just the hypotheticals, but the real assessment of the real intentions of Russia.
The question is, do we disbelieve statements or believe them? And the kinds of threats made against not only Estonia or Latvia, but also against even Sweden, mock nuclear attacks on Sweden, Denmark. Well, I mean, do you take that seriously or do you not take that seriously? I think I'm not one of those that, it's just bluster. I think that you have to take things seriously when people say them or when they do things. Now, in terms of the 60 hours, I mean, one of the things that people forget about NATO is that if you attack one part of NATO, then all of NATO will attack back. Okay, this may not work out well for Estonia if we're attacked, but it will work out very badly for whoever attacks us. And you don't have to, to talk in security policy defense terms. You may succeed in Estonia or Latvia or Lithuania, but there's not going to be much left of the rest of your country. I mean, we may do badly, but the country attacking will do very badly.
How do you assess the current posture, Russian posture, towards the Baltics?
Fairly provocative. I mean, we see constant transponderless flights of military aircraft in the region, which is a real threat to civil aviation. I mean, if you have airliners they don't have the kind of radars to see that there's a Su-28 coming straight at them. I mean, and if they're not, I mean, they only know if there's a transponder that's on, and if you don't do that, clearly the buzzing of U.S. ship in international waters in the Baltic Sea, those kinds of things, highly provocative acts that were part of Cold War behavior, I mean, in the 1970s, but it certainly makes one wonder about the peace dividend today.
How do you feel about NATO presence in the region? Should there be more? Should there be less? Is there ever enough?
Well, there will be a much stronger NATO presence in our region. That's more or less agreed to. So the question is, what will be the numbers? That will be discussed, but there's broad agreement that the Baltic countries, Poland and Baltic countries have in the current security environment need further bolstering.
In terms of migration crisis that became a very big challenge to Europe, recently in Brussels they suggested to penalize countries that do not meet refugee quotas, and the numbers were 250,000 euro per refugee not accepted.
That has not been accepted. That's the kind of decision that would require the member states to agree. So I don't think we should jump ahead on those kinds of things. Estonia is a country that has agreed to the quotas, I mean, we are doing our share. We are showing our solidarity in taking refugees. I don't think that's an issue. There have been all kinds of proposals, but I mean, what matters is what is agreed to, and that certainly has not been agreed to yet. And I'm more worried about, sort of simple proposals than sort of causing, reactions in different countries in the European Union that might not be the smartest thing to do.
You mentioned lack of leadership on this issue.
I've talked about lack of leadership more broadly in that that when when you only think about your about sort of the next election and not thinking in sort of longer terms of where we're going on issues like this, then we don't get serious decisions taken. Clearly, we need more leadership on issues such as strengthening the borders of the European Union, because they need strengthening. We need greater leadership on what to do with the migration crisis. Some of these things might involve, for example, new approaches to Northern Africa, the Middle East, to stem the flow already from the beginning. And too much of the discussion, to my mind, has been only focusing on sort of not in my backyard politics.
And the very last question on migration, do you feel that with all the broad discussions and maybe discontent, it might become a stumbling point for the idea of unified Europe? How you see it here?
I mean, it is one new challenge that we face. I mean, Europe has been fairly unified on all kinds of issues, beginning with sanctions against Russia for the illegal annexation of Crimea, to free movement of people, free movement of labor. I mean, these are all different things that are aspects of a unified European approach to things. But clearly, migration is a new challenge that we have not faced on this scale up till now.